Away we go. It is Chicken Dinner, the 9th time we've been live with you on a Thursday night. Welcome to it. We finally got a good football game tonight with the Bengals and the Ravens, and we'll get to that game in just a second. You know the drill with the show. It is every Thursday night, unless my computer gets a microphone, right into the screen and I have to cancel it. Not to mention, it's tough, believe it or not, to book grown men guests on Halloween. So we had to kind of bong that one. We also, let me get ahead of this right now. We will not have a live show or a podcast Thanksgiving Thursday. I don't believe there was a huge appetite to listen to me talk on Thanksgiving. I'm not that narcissistic, so we will not have a show on that Thursday, but it should be full steam ahead the rest of the way through college football, through the NFL, yes, into college basketball, and then we will reevaluate the situation. But I have no issue doing this show every Thursday night, especially when I'm back in Boston with all of my equipment working. Every Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern on X, on YouTube. If you miss it live, no worries. If you jump in late, no big deal. You can find it on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm very happy with the guest list today. We've got Rob Pizzola, co-founder of the Hammer Betting Network. He's got such a long resume that I had to actually type it out and make notes on it. Co-founder of the Hammer Betting Network, host of Circles Off, host of Forward Progress, and host of Circle Back, which we will discuss with Rob and our other guest at 7:15, Geoff Fienberg, who does betting for the Hammer, for Mayo Media, for Odds Checker, and is a staple of Circle Back. If you don't know what Circle Back is, we will discuss at length. It is the GQ magazine of the sports betting space. They basically take all the shit that happens on Twitter and put it into a weekly show. And I have watched all 5 episodes. It is very, very good. And they even make fun of themselves, which is very rare in the space because a lot of people can dish it. Many cannot take it back. So we'll have Rob and Geoff on at 7:15. And then at 7:35, back on Chicken Dinner, it'll be Jeff Nadu. I don't know what happened to the old Twitter. He used to have 70,000 followers, and now he's opening up a new page. I think he got hacked. But we'll find out from Jeff at 7:35. Always has information on college football. I wonder if he's betting the Army game. Usually he does. He's been pounding Army all season long. As we know, last Saturday, though, the quarterback, Bryson Daly, got ruled out at the very last minute. And Army beats Air Force 20-3. That total was 43. Got down to about 38.5. I don't know, and I don't think that Daly is going to play. We did see some money come in on the dog in that game, North Texas. So we'll talk college football with Jeff. We'll get into NFL with Rob and the other Jeff. We have 2 Jeffs, one Geoff, one Geff. And we'll maybe shut the door about 7:55, 8 o'clock tonight. So a shorter show. Corby will not be with us, but Corby did send us a college football total. And why don't we just do this right now? Because the game is tonight. Let me share this on my screen. He loves this total, which I believe was dummied up a little bit today. It's Florida Atlantic and East Carolina under 58.5. Corby went 3-0 3 weeks ago. He went 3-0 2 weeks ago. And last week, 1-1. Pick up the slack, would you, Corby? Somebody sent a text to me. Wow, Corby didn't sweep this week. Tough life. Tough life, Corby. When you go 6-0 and then go 1-1, that's a problem. So he likes the under tonight. Let me take the board here. This total opened right here, 111, 112 at 55.5. Let's see when the Superbook opened it up. Actually, Circa would have opened the college football, not the NFL like Superbook does. So let's open Circa. They opened this at 55.5. There you go. And earlier this morning, it was floating around 58.5. They bet it up and then bet it down. Bet it all the way to 60. And then bet it back down. And it sort of cratered at the current check. So we see mostly 58.5. So there's a pinnacle at 59 in this column. But Corby does like the under, Florida Atlantic and East Carolina. So now that that's out of the way, we can go up a peg and look at Cincinnati and Baltimore. And we'll discuss this game more with Rob and with Geoff Fienberg. I like the under, but not enough to make it a chicken dinner play. And I don't want to be that guy who Mike McDaniels himself on his own show, because when these two teams last played, final score 41-38. I like the game under. I don't love it under. And this was a look ahead number, as you see, 48.5. Now it's 52.5, 53. No T. Higgins for the Bengals, at least last I saw. No Likely for the Ravens. You have weapons that are out, and you have the short pickup. These two teams both played on Sunday, and now you got to play on Thursday. It's tougher on offensive lines. It's tougher on offensive rhythm because there's not a lot of practice. When you play Sunday and play Thursday, you need guys to rest and recover. It's not a strong look, but I did notice that the bartender is on the over. Oh, yeah. He's over 52.5. I got the text, I don't know, about 2 hours ago. And the bartender's been hot this year, 15-11 on the season, which makes sense when you consider how the public has done this season. He is over 52.5. He says both teams are going to score in the 30s, which always makes me laugh when the total is 53. Bartender is saying without saying that the total is at least a touchdown too low. I love when he starts making lines, but he's had a good season. 95-118 all time, but he is on the over 52.5. You're going to see a lot of stuff in this space. People like the Burrow overs, which makes sense. Burrow absolutely shredded this team in the last meeting. You're going to see some Jamar Chase action. He's minus 125 to score a touchdown. I understand it. Derrick Henry, I saw as high as minus 300 to score a touchdown tonight. And the book offering minus $3 does not have a no price. So take that for what you will. It's always fun to deal the yes at minus 300 when you don't have to deal the no. There was a book that was dealing yes minus 255 and no plus 215. I don't exactly love that split, but it is what it is. And I also don't want to be that guy that says, oh, bet Derrick Henry not to score. It's just a game where I don't really love a lot of props, and I certainly am not going to get involved side or total. We did see Trent from Book It, who's somehow 11-1 on primetime games this year. He's on Cincinnati. I think eventually Trent will come back to earth because nobody can pick primetime games at an 11-1 clip and sustain that. But I'm not going to just fade just to fade. Maybe I played a little first half under. I think I did. Let's see. What did I get? First half under 26.5 is what I played. Oh, that makes sense, Walt. Walt checking in via comment here, which you can comment on YouTube and on X. He says Brad Powers was on North Texas. Okay, that makes sense. He is certainly a guy that would move that game. That is unquestionably true that Brad Powers has the power, no pun intended, to move these games. So let me pull up North Texas. This was 6.5 a couple days ago, and now we're at Army -4. Big quarterback game for me. If Daly's in, I assure you the 4s go back up. If Daly's out, I don't know that we go much lower. Maybe 3.5, 3. But this is a bet that tells me that somebody is telling Brad that Daly is not going to play. And it's very weird. The injury is a little undisclosed. I've heard he was in a boot last week. I've heard foot infection. I don't know for sure. But there are a lot of quarterbacks this week, man, that are important. Lagway at Florida, very important to me. Haynes King at Georgia Tech, very important. And then there's a couple quarterbacks at smaller schools that will move the meter, even though a lot of people don't know who they are. It is Locklear at UTEP, and then at Texas State, McLeod. If those guys are out at Texas State and UTEP, those lines are going to fly. And it's tough with Florida because Florida just played so well in their game against Georgia in the cocktail party. So there's going to be an appetite now to come in and bet some Florida. I like Texas, which we'll talk about maybe at the end of the show when I get to my picks. I do have 6 picks this week. This number did get bet up. Wow, Superbook 23. I'm glad I bet some 21.5 earlier today. Whew. Yeah, that was one of the 6 chicken plays. Texas minus 21.5. I just don't buy it. It looked like Lagway blew his fucking hamstring out. And then Billy Napier today says, oh, it's not that bad. I don't believe you, man. I'm sorry. I don't. And if Lagway's out, Texas could roll. And it's nice to see this line get the 22.5 at Circa and 23 at Superbook. So I don't think Lagway's going to play. But this is a big week for quarterbacks. I had 9 guys on my list this week, which is a big number. I want to talk about a couple other things before we get to Rob Pizzola and Geoff Fienberg. If you consume our content on BetQL Daily and on the BetQL Network, you know about my stance and Joe O's stance on the LA Rams. I think they're overrated. I think their defense blows. And we had maybe a Rams funeral after week 3 or 4. Well, now the Rams are back. And Brian Baldinger, as you can see, was on Costos and Femi's show, and he said it's the Rams division to lose. And I thought, can we not? Can we not? And our social producer smartly wrote, the cult of the Ramily is getting out of control. And I hear Pizzola was singing We Are Ramily on the show the other day. How is it the Rams division to lose when the Rams are plus 380 at FanDuel, plus 375 at MGM? No, it's not their division to lose. It's actually San Francisco's division to lose, if you look at the math. And I like Arizona. Now, look, am I a little bullish on the Rams being bad? Yes. Was I all the way right about them being dead? No. But it is definitely and mathematically not their division to lose. So I thought that was rich. Saying it's their division to lose when they're almost a 4-1 shot is just a little comical to me. A lot of you have been DMing and tweeting about Indiana in college football. So let's go back to the odds screen here. 183 at 184. Did you know Indiana is 8-1 at the window and 7-2 to the over? Is Indiana overrated? I don't know. Are they overvalued? Yes. The number in the summer was Michigan minus 14.5. Indiana is now minus 14.5. So a 28-point adjustment on this game in 2 months. Now, look, I did for the first time bet against Indiana last week, and it sucked. Sparty goes up 10-0, and then it's over. 47 unanswered. I think it was 47 unanswered for Indiana. No, I'm good. I'm not going to bet against them, but I do like the under in the game. Michigan cannot move the ball. And the one thing about Indiana, we hear about their quarterback and their running game and their talent and speed and skill and their coach. All of those things check all the boxes. We don't talk enough about Indiana's defense. And I see a total, you can go under 50 if you have a Circa account. And I think I sent, 49.5. 24-10, 27-14. That's sort of where I'm at. I'm in the ballpark of a low 40s game for the most part. Well, maybe high 30s, low 40s. I can't get there on this total. I just can't. Indiana's defense is criminally underrated. And we know that Michigan is now back to one of its bum quarterbacks. They've had so many different guys. I lose track of all the guys they've had, even though Sharon Moore's been excited about all of them. Michigan's a mess. And I don't think they're going to be moving the ball on Indiana. Conversely, Indiana is going to struggle to run the ball on Michigan. Michigan can do one thing well. It is stop the run. Can Michigan win 35-31? No, they do not have the horses. And last thing here, Kenny White made numbers for me on the first 4 games in the college football playoff. So he's got Boise at Ohio State. Again, this will all change too, so it's a fun exercise, but none of these matchups will probably happen. So it's Boise at Ohio State, Indiana at Tennessee, Bama at Texas, and Notre Dame at Penn State. Here are the numbers. He's got Ohio State minus 18.5, Tennessee minus 9.5 against Indiana, Texas minus 3.5 against Bama, Penn State minus 6 against Notre Dame. Now, those are numbers based off of power rating. Kenny's not booking bets, so a bookmaker would take numbers like that and massage them to where you could write pretty fair shake on both sides. I mean, just thinking about it, Penn State minus 6 against Notre Dame feels a little bit high. I would think that would probably open like 3.5, 4. And honestly, Texas 3.5 on Bama in Austin feels a little light. I think they would bet first move Texas. But again, it's fun to have this conversation. The first ratings came out. Oregon, quack, number 1. Georgia, number 2. Miami, number 3. BYU, number 4. Kenny also very adamant that BYU is not deserving to be in the playoff, but if they go undefeated in conference, Kenny, they're going to be in. He's got BYU as the number 28 team in the country. So I have a feeling that he will be looking to bet a little against the BYU Cougars. All right, I see one of my guests in the kitty. That's Rob Pizzola. I gave your bio earlier. It's getting longer and longer every time I have you on the show, man.
It's tough, man. I'm doing too much nowadays. I'm feeling the grind halfway through football season, but I love it, honestly. I love keeping busy.
So you do a lot of the content at The Hammer. You co-founded The Hammer, the betting network, host of Circles Off, host of Forward Progress, and we'll get into whenever Fienberg gets here, we'll get into the new show, Circle Back, which I was going through and I said, well, I want to be able to show a little bit of what they do. And I'm not going to show a clip, but I will show the YouTube page. This is the Circles Off page. And I said, man, I'm glad I actually did watch these shows, because if I didn't, I would be caught red-handed. There you go. Look at that. The red bar across all 5 of the Circle Back shows. I'm a little behind, unfortunately, on Circles Off. Caught me red-handed there. But I have watched the Circle Back show every week. I love it. How did it come about? Take me through the process and how you guys finally hit the gas on it.
Yeah, I don't know the exact origin story of where the idea came from. I do want to say there was a gambling drama Twitter account that was out there for a little bit that was just constantly stirring the pot on gambling Twitter, retweeting things, beefs and things of that nature. And that was cool for a while. And then that account started to insert their opinions onto things. And it seemed like whoever was running that account didn't really understand a lot of the nuances of gambling Twitter. I think that was the first time I said to myself, we could probably do this in video form and just make it so much better. And we had experimented with different ways of doing this. We ran some demos in the background. Geoff Fienberg, who will join us. You should know one thing about Geoff. Geoff operates on his own time. We never know when he's going to show up for these things, but he's great in it. And the content writes itself. There's just so much happening on gambling Twitter on a weekly basis. People are tagging me in tweets. They're DMing me tweets. And I said to myself, yeah, let's try to turn this into content. Let's see if there's a demand for it. And 5 episodes in, I think that there has been a lot of people reaching out saying that they really enjoy it.
We definitely do. We talk about it on the morning show on BetQL Daily. Ostrowski and I love it. He is even more excited to have GRP on than I am. And I was the first one to book George on our network. But if you really think about it, it was the perfect windstorm for you, because in the last 5 weeks, we've had the GRP against Chernoff debacle.
Yep.
We've had Taylor Mathis, and we've had Fezzik lose multiple favorites of $8 or higher. So there is no shortage of entertainment and no shortage of content. And then all of a sudden you get this stuff that comes out of nowhere, like the Alex Caruso talking about betting under Paolo Banchero. It's the best bet of the season, under whatever. And he had 50 points and 13 boards and 9 assists. I mean, it creates itself because there's so much bad content in the space.
Yeah, I will say, there's ulterior motives for doing stuff like this. And, at the Hammer, we have to do pick shows, just like on BetQL, Sam. You guys got to give out picks. That's what people are looking for in the industry. And we got to do that because there's a segment of the population that always services. Circles Off was always meant to be our educational type of brand, but we really struggle to reach other bettors that are not sharps. So this was kind of a way of us bridging the gap and starting to create some lifestyle content, let's say, that can reach the masses. And it's funny because I have people who reach out to me, and this is not an exaggeration, on a weekly basis, that are like, I don't even know half these characters on gambling Twitter. I thought I knew what gambling Twitter was. There's this other subsection. I've never heard of these people. This is amazing. And I'm breaking into an audience that frankly has never seen our content before. And to me, that's a big win. So this is, it's tough running a content company because you think you're doing things in a certain way and you want to go about establishing these brand values of being transparent, open with your audience about who you are. You don't want to mislead or misrepresent, but also you do want to grow viewership. And I think that this ended up being the idea for us, that maybe we're going to be able to grow some viewership here and really start to attract people to this channel who might then actually watch the Circles Off interviews and some educational content.
I've learned so hard that it's about so much more than picks. Now, there's always that faction of people that wants picks. And, my picks this year, I actually wrote it down, started 21-13, then got to 27-33. So it got ice cold. Yep. And now I'm 36-36. If you're taking my bets so far this season, you are down the juice. Mm-hmm. And I am extremely transparent about that. I still think there's a faction of people that want to be entertained more than anything else. And then maybe to a lesser extent, people want to know how you think. And you've done a really good job with this on your Pizza Buffet show on Sunday, which ironically enough goes up against mine and Kostos' show on Sunday. But I've seen your show. I've seen it for years now. You explain how anybody that tells you they're betting NFL sides 30 minutes to kick and can do it well is probably full of it. But just seeing the eyes or seeing it through your eyes and understanding how you view it, it goes a long way in this space because let's be honest, people don't have the time. They've got full-time jobs. They've got wives. They've got kids. They've got pets. They got dance recitals. They don't have the time that you have and that I have to break these games down. So I think seeing it from your lens is more important than maybe you even realize at times.
Yeah, I think the process is important. And I always try to get that across to other people as well. Listen, the nature of doing content is people do crave picks. But at the end of the day, I would rather people be able to formulate their own opinions and kind of use the processes that I outlined to be able to do that in the long run. Like, it's nice that people watch on Sunday morning. I'm not an idiot. I know a lot of people, despite what I say of like, I don't have an edge at this time, you probably shouldn't be tailing this stuff. They're still going to do it anyways, because there's a subsection of the population that wants to do that. But I try to articulate, why I think certain things have moved, why I'm not willing to bet my opinion on a certain game at this moment in time, despite the fact that I might have a numerical edge. I really just try to honestly speak candidly in that moment about how I'm seeing the games rather than regurgitate a bunch of stuff that's already known. Like, people know if the backup quarterback is in for one team. By this time in the morning on Sunday, a lot of the information is known. So for me, it's all about process. It's thinking through that. And I actually love doing that show. I mean, it's really weird. I talk to myself for an hour. There's no one around. It's just the comments and me, but it's a way for me to like keep myself honest in a sense as well, and make sure that I'm not just BSing people, because I'll catch myself in the act if I'm doing that.
So you brought up backup quarterbacks. I wasn't going to seg this way, but it's a perfect transition time. Let me share the odds screen again from Odds Logic. You're a big Cowboys guy. Mm-hmm. They certainly have a backup quarterback under center. Cooper Rush is going to play, but I think the conversation that gets extremely complex is how much is this quarterback worth to the line?
Yeah.
And with Dallas, it's not just the quarterback. It's the lack of a running game. Yeah. The O-line has not been good. They have one wide receiver, and now he's hurt. Mm-hmm. And then their defense is 30th out of 32 in EPA per play. And maybe Parsons comes back, and that will certainly help. But somebody said, "Oh, Dak Prescott's not worth that much." It's not just Dak Prescott. I mean, they got guys this week like Diggs was limited at practice. Kendricks didn't practice. Deron Bland didn't practice. Like, that is just a mangled football team right now. And to look at the look ahead and see 3 and then see 7.5, that is more than just Dak Prescott being out. That is a serious roster issue with all the guys that are banged up right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think a lot of people look at it and they say, well, Dak Prescott is not having a great year. How much of a downgrade can this possibly be? And they don't apply the context of why Dak Prescott is not having a great year. Like, Dak Prescott didn't just fall off a cliff because he got paid a bunch of money. Dak Prescott fell off a cliff because he doesn't have any wide receivers that can get separation right now. He's thrown more tight window passes through the first half of this season than he has in any season in his NFL career. He doesn't have people getting open. His O-line has a turnstile at left tackle. Zach Martin is washed at guard. They don't have the running game like you mentioned, Sam. So it's all these things. And now you're going to put Cooper Rush into that. It is going to get worse. It's probably going to get a lot worse than that. I mean, my challenge to anyone who wants to bet Dallas in this game is how are they going to score? Where are the points going to come from? The Eagles defense has gotten a lot better. Vic Fangio's got like rotating the right personnel now. The rookies are starting to play well at corner there. I don't get it. Like, to me, you have the Chiefs this week who are in prime teaser potential per usual. Nothing I love better than getting to tease the Chiefs down to ultimately a game where they just have to win. I think the Eagles are a great other teaser option here as well, because you might get a really good Dallas defensive performance and maybe like, Parsons back really inspires the defense. Fine. But the offense is just not good enough to hold off this, to be able to move the ball consistently on the Eagles. So I don't get the Dallas love. I'm a Cowboys fan, very pessimistic about the team, but I think there's a lot of scenarios where the Eagles just rout them this week.
Yeah, I've got a story coming out for Fox tomorrow. I talked to Tony Miller from the Golden Nugget, and he's a lifelong Cowboys fan, and he's just so frustrated about it. He said, I thought this was a telling quote, though. He said, coming into the season, I had them knocking on the door to be a top 5 team in my numbers. Now I have them handily bottom 5. We don't usually see that happen from start to finish. And then I figured you'd appreciate this too. We were talking about how the books are getting crushed, which I'm sure you've chronicled. So the sports books got rolled in October. Favorites, NFL and college. And then you get through October and you're like, whew, you're a bookmaker. It's November. And then the first NFL week in November, favorites go 14-1 straight up and 10-5 ATS. And Tony says, I always tell my bosses, look, this will happen once or twice a season. Tell me how the boss calls him at the end of October and says, Tony, this has fucking happened 3 of the last 4 weeks. Yep. Tony says, what do you want me to do? But the bosses don't want to hear that.
Right. Yeah, it's just bad variance, really, is what it comes down to. I'm sure by the end of the year, it will balance out in some point. Like, I never really put much stock into public bet percentages. You know this about me, Sam. Like, I'll be on the square side of a game if I show value on it. It's just how I'm conditioned to bet nowadays. And honestly, I'll probably be on a lot of the square sides just looking at the board this week with how it's going to shape out. But what you would expect over time is that one of these favorites loses. That kills all the parlays in a week or kills all the teasers. And they're not getting that right now. It's just been like a terribly unlucky run where all these big favorites win. And it's not just the straight bets they're getting killed on. It's all the parlays. Typically speaking, you ask a sportsbook director, you ask Tony or someone like that, they'll probably tell you by the end of the year, they're holding maybe 4 or 5% on straights, but they're going to be holding 10% plus on the parlays and the teasers, and they need those ones to fall. So I don't know who it's going to be this week or if they get back on track, but at some point the books are going to get back on track. Like the house edge over the long run is going to win out. The VIG is what's going to have them win out in the long run, plus the propensity of all these bettors to parlay, to tease, like tease totals, tease through the worst numbers. And at some point or another, it's, water finds its level, as Brian Blessing used to say.
Oh, there's a blast from the past, Brian Blessing. I've got a couple sides for you. I like Bears -6, Steelers +3. I did lay a little -15. I think the 3 is just so important in that game. When you have a Steelers game, the 3 is important. And then I was late. I did bet a little bit on my show, but Chernoff comes in on like a Tuesday morning, or I think it was Tuesday morning, and he just pounds the Dolphins, and then they release it, and I hate playing it at 1. I think they're going to win the game. So I did take Dolphins +1. I see Fienberg has checked in. I see his video, but I don't see him. So that's
the first step in Fienberg checking in. He's usually starts the screen, and then a couple minutes later, he will join with a very confused look on his. But as soon as you see him sit down, Sam, he'll be good to go. He'll do his quick little mic check. This is the classic Fienberg special, right?
This is unbelievable. I know you have a hard up because I'm going to be on your show. You do the primetime games, Forward Progress, and I'll be on with you in the second quarter. So this is sort of like a home and home. I was waiting for Fienberg to join, though, so I could let you two talk and I can make myself a drink.
Yes.
I guess I will remove him from the stage. So of the things you bet, whether they're actionable or not, Anything you can share with us for week number 10 so far?
Yeah, we can go through the board here really quickly. So I will say I'm opposite you on Steelers Commanders.
Okay.
For those who listen to my stuff, this is not going to be something new. I think Washington is criminally underrated in the market right now, not only in this game, but in futures markets as well. Like I was looking at Commanders Super Bowl prices, NFC prices this week. I think everyone is kind of just waiting for this offense to drop off at some point. Like I talk to people and they're like, can the offense be this good? Are they going to keep it up? I think they are. I think Jaden Daniels is a really good quarterback. He's in a great system with Cliff Kingsbury that's designed this offense for them really well. And like they're actually playing good defense, which I never expected from this personnel going into the year. Dan Quinn's done a great job there. And I was completely wrong about Dan Quinn. I'm willing to admit that. So now that we're back off to the 3 to 2.5s at most books, looking across the screen here, you got some 2.5 minus 115, minus 118. I think that those are playable there. What else? I played the Jets today. That's moved a little bit as well, but the injury report for the Jets is looking great at this point. How much more value is there now that we're out to 1.5 on the road? Probably not a ton, but I think that's the right side in the game. I'm convinced that even though Nico Collins is ready to go, I don't think he's playing this week for Houston. I don't think Will Anderson is playing. I think Will Anderson might miss next week. I think if you're into like betting good numbers, this is probably going to get hit towards Detroit once those guys are officially announced out. And I do think that that's coming at some point. So those are a few that I'm looking at. I laid the Giants in the Germany game. I know.
Oh, God.
I know. Carolina, in my opinion, is not a real football team. They're just not. I know they beat the Saints last week. They got outgained by like a couple hundred yards. Defensively, it's one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. I think anything short of 7 is good. And people might say, well, like how much of a difference can you possibly have between the Giants and Carolina? For me, it's quite substantial because with the Giants, Daniel Jones, no left tackle, that's a real problem when he faces pressure. Carolina can't generate pressure. They're the worst pressure rate team in the entire league. They send blitzes and they still can't get to the quarterback. I think the Giants are good on alt spreads as well in this game for those who like to dabble in alt spreads. I think part of the German experience on Sunday morning is not they're going to witness a blowout, I think, or I'm hoping at the very least. So those are the best looks for me. You mentioned Chicago, New England. I played the over in that game. A very small bet. I'm probably going to add a little bit more. I always wait to make sure that the weather in Chicago is not a complete disaster. I also think that once your tackles get ruled out for the Bears, left tackle, right tackle, you might see a bit of a total drop. But New England's not the team that's going to exploit that. Like Caleb Williams, when he plays bad defenses, whether that was Jacksonville a few weeks back in London, Carolina, he'll move the ball. I like Chicago to score points, even though people are really down on the offense. I think the New England defense is just so much worse right now.
Let me stop sharing screen. And Fienberg is, I believe he's ready, but I can't be sure. How we doing, pal?
What's up, buddy?
Went to find his USA golf hat. Classic.
I
really
love
wants
it.
to endear himself to the audience.
Are you in the dark? Do you not have any lights on?
I guess, yeah, I could have pumped that thing a little harder.
Yeah, pump it harder, will you? Please.
Gets warm under those lights for Fienberg at night.
The mic isn't ready. The mic isn't warmed up. The lights are off. Does he have pants on? I don't know. By the way, I find no coincidence that since you guys both shaved in the last 7 to 10 days, I'm trying to match. It's not really working. But Rob, you had full beard, and Fienberg had the babushka. Mm-hmm. You guys both shave, and now I'm having midlife crisis on Chicken Dinner with the very patchy facial hair. There we go, Geoff. We can see you now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm at the point in my life where I really only shave when there's like a reason or somewhere to go.
Completely agree. For me, this is going to grow out until my wife stops kissing me and she's going to say, you got to shave. That's usually problem number one. But also, like, I shaved into a mustache for a Halloween costume, and my wife saw me and she's like, no. Like this, I was just going to rock the duster for November. And she's like, nah, it's not happening. So At this point, though, it's just sheer laziness. Like, I cannot devote I don't know how my dad's done this for like 50 years. I don't think I've ever seen him with facial hair ever. Shaves every morning. I can't even imagine what that must be like. This is just going to grow out until I have a reason to shave, just like Geoff.
Let me pop a couple comments here. This is from Garrett. Solid lineup, Bach. We got Michael saying, "What's up, Sammy?" Pat Kappa from our conversation earlier, where Kenny White made Tennessee a 9.5-point favorite on Indiana. Pat says that Tennessee line is insane. And here you go, Rob. We have Tony A giving us the weather in Chicago. Wind is 18 miles an hour at Soldier Field. That might change the handicap, huh?
I see 10 to 15 steady, and then gusts of like 15 to 20 as of right now. And yeah, I mean, it always does. You bet these November East Coast games, especially Chicago, and you like the over in the game, you better be sure that the weather's going to be okay, because that can turn on a dime pretty regularly. But that type of speed, honestly, especially for Drake May, powerful arm, Caleb Williams, whose actually average depth of target is pretty short this year, I don't think it has a huge impact at that speed.
So, Geoff, we talked earlier about circle back. And I know, like I said, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I want to let Rob hop off whenever he has to go, because he's got to get ready for forward progress. And then Nadu will join us in about, let's call it 8 minutes. I asked Rob how it came about. We already have that story about circle back. My question to you, Fienberg, is how much are you enjoying shooting the shit with your buddies and just having fun with the space? Because that really is how it feels. It's 4 you guys in one room, just kind of going back and forth, making fun of each other, talking a little shit. When GRP comes up, I said on our morning show, it looks like you're like waiting for Santa to come down the chimney when your guy GRP comes up. You have to just enjoy that show.
So I look at it like this, assuming, don't want to project, but I do have friends in real life off of the internet that I spend time with, and they have real jobs at real companies, or have clients or patients and all that real life stuff. I can't talk to them about like Taylor Coyne. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense to them. They're just in a different universe. Or GRP, and a couple of my buddies, as I've mentioned, like, they really do enjoy some GRP humor. But there's just these things that happen in our sports gambling ecosystem that you want to share, like you want to talk about in the same way you'd want to like gossip or talk about anything. Like, look what that guy said, or what that guy did, or, you know, all this and that. So that's really what it is. I I've been begging for a show like this for a bit. Like, I just said, you know, I'm part of the team at Forward Progress, but I'm not doing no best bet show, Sammy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not there. So anytime, I'll be honest, like in our Discord, where, you know, for a couple years, there's things that happen and we're like giggling like schoolgirls about it. It's always come up like, we should do a show. We should do a show. But it's a fine line, because there's, you know, you put yourself out there to talk about other people. You know, it's like a layer above tweeting about other people in some ways.
Yeah.
But I think we try to just, you know, enter all of it fair and balanced in some ways. I mean, I'm sure people that we've spoken about don't feel that way, but at its core, I desperately felt there was a need for it. And, you know, anytime there were these insane DFS dramas from like, you know, dudes with equity in companies leaving and starting other companies, my boy, like Peter Roosevelt, would do like a show, and the shows would be my favorite shows, where they'd be an hour show, and I would like caress them. Like, I didn't even want to get through them too quickly, because then they were done and I didn't have them anymore. So I know what it's like to have some content out there that you love, that you feel like was missing.
I remember, Sammy, this is a great comment, by the way. I had no idea who Fienberg was until just now. That's my kind of guy. This is great. I will tell you, Bill Krakenberger, Crackman, messaged me with just a picture of Geoff in the studio saying, "Rob, I love this guy." That's the kind of stuff that Geoff is getting right now. But I remember when I told Geoff that we were going to do this, I said, "Geoff, like, this is what," and he said, "Rob, I need to be a part of that. Like
I pretty much told Rob I'd be personally like offended if I wasn't included.
He did. He said that to me. He's like, I need to be a part of this.
Yeah.
I will come into the studio every week. You tell me when we're going to record. I will make it happen. I will be there. It's a bit of a trek for Geoff as well. So we made it happen. But you know what, Geoff, to people who get offended by this stuff, at the end of the day, don't tweet stupid shit. It's a message to everyone out there. Like if it's not us talking about it publicly, it's people talking about it behind the scenes, and it's people talking about it on social media anyways. Like that's just what this social media is about. I mean, we're talking about stuff that's blown up in the space, and like, don't tweet stupid shit if it bothers you so much.
And Sammy, I refer to it often as an ecosystem, and it's like huge, right? And I get it. Like if you're just in for sharp content, you don't consider the walking bets or, that sort of stuff as part of your ecosystem. But I get it. Like you're in your hyper niche part of it, but it's all part of it. Like at this point, it's all part of the gambling space has gotten so big that it has its own ecosystem, and there's enough going on, and there's enough shows where there's enough to talk about. And I'm really happy we're doing it. I'm on. Yeah. If it didn't exist, if I wasn't a part of it, obviously I'd be offended if Rob was doing it. I wasn't a part of it, but I've been craving it for years.
Well,
like
I just
I've been
wish,
saying, like, don't you want to get into this business? Don't rank tight ends. Make a newsletter about the beefs on Twitter. Like, keep up, because you come in and out, Sammy. You're doing a show. You come up for air, and you're like, "Whoa, these people are fighting. Where did that start?" There's some literally that'd be my tip. Someone wants into the industry. Like, don't think someone needs your picks or your fantasy rankings. Make a newsletter about all the beefs of the day or the week. I'm telling you, it'll catch on.
It has circled back the show. I'm going to share it once Rob leaves us in the next 90 seconds because he has to get ready for Forward Progress. I only wish, Rob, that circle back was a thing when I went at Live Moods and FanDuel. Can you imagine? I mean, that would have been maybe topic 1 or topic 2 that day.
Yes.
We'll share that for a different day, maybe. But Rob, before you scoot, is there any prop or any exotic or derivative that you like in tonight's game on Thursday night?
Look for something really quickly. I bet some Joe Burrow completions and attempts overs. They're kind of got steamed out now. So let me see if I could find something really quickly that I feel pretty confident in here from a props perspective. Yeah, let's go with Mike Gesicki under on receiving yards, which is right now in the 51.5 range. Best number you can find on the board. Gesicki had
really good at taking the guy, getting like a lot of, like steam and being like, nah, that's not happening. I see it all the time in these primetime games.
Well, people fall in love with guys off like a couple touchdown performance, and I get it.
Josh Downs on, what was that, Monday or Sunday, was getting all the love, and Rob's like, no, I'm going to play the unders.
Yeah. They have 4 tight ends active tonight. They have Drew Sample, Tanner Hudson, and Cam Grandy active tonight. Gesicki only got like a 33% snap count last week. And now, granted, they were winning a lot against the Raiders. This will be different, but I think it's just too high at this point. And a lot of people are expecting a Burton coming out party for the Bengals today. Jermaine Burton as well. A lot of overs being hit there recently. So if Burton is having a coming out party, that's a lot of 3 wide receiver sets with Chase and Yoshivas and less multi-tight end or single tight end sets as well. So let's do that. Let's go Gesicki under 51.5 receiving yards.
All right. Get out of here. I'll see you in about an hour on Forward Progress.
Sounds good. I got a bottle of wine ready to go for when you join later.
Oh, you actually went out and bought one? Look at you. Last time I was on your show, you had no hooch.
I have wine in the house, but I'm moving. I'm in the process of moving. So my wife has given me an ultimatum of drinking as much booze as I can so that we don't have to move it. So I'll crack this one open later on for you, Sammy.
By the time I'm there, this will get vertical, the chicken dinner decanter. All right, buddy. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Sammy.
Caught the cord there on my chicken. So let's drop Rob off. Before we get to Geoff Nadu and Fienberg, you were substantially late to the program. I am going to bring Nadu on
Hold
here,
on,
but
I was told I got an email saying 7:35.
you did not. No, you did not. That's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie. Read it again.
Oh, then I feel really bad. I'm sorry, Sammy.
It's okay,
I'll make
buddy.
it up to you, buddy.
No. It's okay.
I missed that. I even replied to the email. I would
Look at Pizzola. He's beside himself.
I knew when he said it because me and Geoff were on the same email, right? I think Sam sent the exact same email to me and Geoff. So I'm like, no way you got a 7:35 email. That did not happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. It's okay.
You know what? I did a show the other day for someone and they spelt my name. Whatever. But yeah, you're good, Sammy. Now I feel really bad. Because you guys were making fun of me. I was watching. And I'm like, what did I do? I'm not on. Like, why am I getting yelled at for being late? I wasn't even told to be here till 7:35.
I read the email, Geoff. I was wondering what was going on, but
I apologize for that, Sammy. That's
no, it's fine.
I gotta own that.
Sorry, Rob. Yeah. I saw you cackling in the background.
I'm glad you brought me back in. I was going to set the record straight for you, just in case there was a mutual disagreement there. But yeah, I got to get the picks in before the 8:00 show. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, I'm on the Ravens, so I don't know.
You can hang out because for the first time in the history of Chicken Dinner, we have two Jeffs at the same time. Geoff Nadu, host of the Sit Down Pod, and Geoff Fienberg. They are spelled differently, but we have a Jeff and a Geoff. So this is technically Chicken Dinner history. Geoff, I only came to you late because Fienberg is 12 minutes late.
That's all right. I heard the name Liv Moods mentioned.
Oh no!
Man, does she suck?
Can I tell you the backstory? I'll tell you the quick backstory. So she was at the time working for FanDuel, and Pizzola, actually, of all people at BetStamp, decided that we're going to follow the influencers in the space. And this is going back 2 years, maybe. And he was tracking Liv Moods, who was minus 40 units or something, call it 40 units in a very small pocket. FanDuel, she worked for FanDuel. FanDuel tweeted, if you're not betting with Liv, you're doing it wrong. This is the number one sports book in America, guys. Number one, with 400,000 Twitter followers and all the commercials and all that shit. Basically, FanDuel was telling you to tail a losing bettor. And I said, this is not right. And then it was, oh, you hate women and you hate this and you hate that. And I was very careful with the tweet, but I said, I can't believe FanDuel is telling you to tail this person with the screenshot of the BetStamp record, which was minus 37 units or whatever. And I got torched, absolutely torched by everybody for 2 weeks. It was brutal.
I don't even care if they're women. If they suck, they suck. It is what it is.
I agree. Fienberg, you're looking very smug there. Do you have a reaction?
No, I could see why you do that. That's a dangerous game that, FanDuel plays. I assume it's just like an intern who's like, this is a partner of ours and we're just promoting their picks. But I don't know. It's right. I'm not a fan of regulation. But that's a whole other.
Me either.
I don't think
I agree with that.
Better. I mean it, but I'm sure the single game parlay universe would disagree with me.
Well,
I will say, while
they're
Jeff's
holding
here,
50% on parlays. So.
I love that show they do. It's very funny.
Which show?
Circle Back. It's much needed.
Isn't it? Why do you love it, Geoff?
Because I love what Pizzola said about when, like, I hate stupidity. Like, it makes me physically ill when I see it. And you got these goofy young kids thinking they're Billy Walters because they've won for 3 weeks. Then they're selling a dub club. It's, I don't know, just brutal.
I really think that it's something that's necessary. And, one of the comments I saw on Twitter, Fienberg, was, well, who are these guys to gatekeep the space? And I thought they are getting more views and more clicks every single week. People are talking about it. People are sharing the clips. I think you guys really have something here. I do.
I mean, I don't even know what to make of the gatekeeping comment, because we're just like being in the same way like high school girls like with gossip. Like I just feel like that's all we're kind of doing, and there's a lot that happens out there, so I kind of feel like we picked the most deserved. We don't, I mean, maybe we have told people that they shouldn't do things. I don't know. I don't know if gatekeeping's the right analogy, but we are definitely, putting ourselves out there and calling out other people. So I could see why, some people might not like it or think we aren't in the right to do it.
I mean, then get out of the business and don't say stupid stuff,
Or just don't watch the show if you don't like it.
Yeah, that's another good point. Or don't try to push a Taylor coin, and then when all the going gets tough, you say you got extorted, and then a day later you didn't get extorted, and we're supposed to just forget about it. I mean,
again, and I also feel there's a lot of people who are sports gamblers, and they have a lot of, friends on the internet who are sports gamblers who they communicate with. But a lot of, again, their like real life friends aren't really part of that.
yeah.
And there's no one else communicating or talking about these things, or it just is very awkward to give the whole backstory on some of these things to your friend who's like an accountant or something, and who bets, but he doesn't care about your weird sports gambling Twitter universe. And therefore, it's a place where it's actually being discussed, and in your mind, you like want someone to talk about it.
But I also find stuff that I didn't see. Like that swing state comment by Fezzik was very funny for whatever reason I missed. And I heard you guys say it, and I just thought, oh my God, that's just so funny. I would have missed it if I didn't watch it.
I mean, there's a lot of things I don't see. I come in there and then I see it for the first time, which I think is good because it could bring a natural reaction, but there's no shortage. There's no shortage of things. Like that is clearly, like Sammy alluded to with Rob. There are no shortage of topics. Yeah, there might be a slower week. That's just natural, but people say things, people do things, people get into beefs. Like the timeline for the show just makes itself.
Absolutely.
All right, Fienberg, I'm going to let you roll here in a second. You said you like the Ravens tonight. Are you first half? Are you full game? How'd you bet them?
I bet the Ravens. I laid the 6. It's not something I love, but I'm what I like to call a sophisticated square, and it's a TV game, and it's a TV game. The kids will be asleep. I gotta get something in on it. I think they come out of a bit of, I wouldn't call it a funk, but I don't know. Chase Brown over receiving yards. I had 23.
What's the number?
I had
23?
23 and a half.
Okay.
Oh, is it down from that now?
I don't know. I could look real quick. Before I let you go, let me ask you one more thing. How would you, let's say that an alien was dropped from the sky and he showed up to your house and he said, Fienberg, tell me about GRP. What would you even say?
I would say he's entertains me. I enjoy sports gambling and he makes me laugh. And some of it is like cringe, but that's part of what I giggle at. That's all. Not all the content has to be super sharp out there. The fact that he takes himself real seriously, I like that. I'm sorry, I would say like that, but that entertains me. So that's all. I'm into it. He doesn't annoy me. And anytime he does, he'll bring me right back in against Sammy because he'll let you know he just showered and he just put in a little bit of gel. It doesn't matter how much he annoyed you from a tweet yesterday. You're just like, okay, I'm in, George. Let's see what you got, buddy. Fire away.
I got a kick out of him the other day. As someone who's a big haircut guy, as you know, he made a comment that he got his Thanksgiving haircut 3 weeks before Thanksgiving.
Well, yeah, listen, he's still got a full head of hair. I don't know how old he is. So
yeah, he's
for
pretty.
that.
Yeah, that's true.
And as someone who's still got like 3 weeks a little early, but he must feel like he gets it to like a peak period 3 weeks after he gets it cut is his like favorite place. If that makes any sense.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe like he's that proactive on it where
That's
he knows it's like it's going to peak in 3 weeks with this cut from this barber. So that's where I'm getting it.
That's why so I get a haircut every Friday. And Saturday is the best night to go out. And by Saturday, it's grown a slight little bit where it just goes perfect. Like I get where he's coming from. So
not 3 weeks later though.
No, that's pretty weird.
But we all have that period, like
but he can grow it serious, so he's probably knows exactly how he wants it. All right. Enjoy the night. I'm sorry about that, Sammy. You hit me up anytime. Oh, I feel bad. I'm gonna feel bad about that now when I leave here.
It's all worth it because I got a Canadian sorry at the end of it. That's Geoff Fienberg from the Hammer, Mayo Media, Odds Checker, and the new show. Let me share this one more time, and let me also prove to you, Fienberg, that I do watch the show, because if you go to my YouTube page, look at all the red bars at the bottom, baby. Oh, I am all the way in on Circle Back. If you don't think I watch it, you are full of it.
Appreciate the support, Sammy, and I know Jeff's been watching. It's good to see Geoff.
You too, Geoff. So by the way, I like that jacket. I'm a big track jacket.
Yeah, it's an old school starter Chargers from their Super Bowl. Like it's Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
29.
you know that's right. Yeah, you're a Charger guy. I remember years ago.
75th anniversary patch. This is
yeah.
We're talking. Oh my god, like this is a 30-year-old jacket now. So
that's tough, man. I like
later.
See you, bud. All right, there goes. Oop, there's Geoff Nadu. All right. Well, 20 minutes behind schedule, but no big deal. I apologize for that.
Oh, good.
You were on time. No, I know you're good. Did you do anything in the game tonight? I got first half under 26.5.
I didn't do anything. I did take a little East Carolina tonight in college. I didn't love it. I just felt like it was a double-digit win for me. ECU's played a lot better since they moved on from Mike Houston. I feel like this is a big game for them from a just kind of getting going standpoint. Their offenses look a lot better. Florida Atlantic just can't move the ball. Cam Fancher's lost moving the football. I think they've really kind of played for Blake Harrell. They're moving towards bowl ability. I thought this was like a 37-24 type of game. So I laid 7.5 with it. Feels like a double-digit win. You're muted.
I did mute myself. My bad. Let me talk about this team because this is your baby. You have bet them early and often all year. That's 169 Army at North Texas. This was 6.5 on Tuesday. And I guess somebody said in the chat that Brad Powers played North Texas and gave it out. That's fine. Maybe he knows something that we don't. I think it goes back right the other way if Bryson Daly's in.
Yeah, I've been looking at message boards literally every 6 hours on Army, really since Monday. Look, I got to tell you, Sam, I bet the over and I'm staying with it regardless. I don't think it truly matters against North Texas. North Texas literally is lost against the run and the pass. And Sam, to me, this is more of a play against Army's defense. I mean, Sam, look at this schedule and find me a quality quarterback. Seriously, I'm asking you. Find me a fucking good, pardon my French, good quarterback that they've played. The best quarterback they've played is ECU's quarterback. And I'll tell you what, Chandler Morris is as good a quarterback from a throwing standpoint in the country. Now, one concern I have, a lot of people don't remember this, but against Tulane before their bye week, Chandler Morris went out with a shoulder injury. He did not look like the same player. He did have a week off. My guess is he'll be fine. But if both quarterbacks, even if just North Texas' quarterback is in, I think the kid, Coleman, the backup, can move the ball. I really do.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers that I got sent on the game. It looks like the aggregate number for total. Let's see.
It's been 63.5, 64 a week. I'm starting to see 65s popping up.
No, I'm saying on the power rating side of things. Okay, so this set of power ratings says Army 35, North Texas 30. And then on the second set, Army 34, North Texas 31. So they're both over.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception really of Wyoming, who's one of the worst offenses in the country, and Stephen F. Austin, a non-Division I team, North Texas is allowed 38 or more, I believe, in every game. So this is truly a heinous defense. And again, Army's defense is a fraud against the pass. They just are. They have not played one good quarterback all season.
Well, and it's interesting you bring up the Army, I guess, malaise or the disdain. I was talking with a guy on the phone. I usually Wednesday and Thursday start calling my guys in Vegas because a lot of the guys that I talk to, they're off on Tuesday and Wednesday. Some of them come back in Wednesday, and then everybody's behind the counter on Thursday because you're getting ready for the weekend, right? You got college games, you got Thursday night football, and then Friday we're into the weekend, and then you're writing bigger bets at bigger limits. And one guy told me today, he said, for the first time all season, we've seen sharp money against Army. And yeah, you've talked about this all year. You've talked about betting them early and betting them often and beating the move. There was a game you laid 22 and it closed 26.
And I will say last week, I did get out of that game when the Daily News came. And from what I thought and from what they reported an illness, which struck me as maybe he has, some sort of sickness or the flu or whatever. And then as I talked to you, you mentioned he was in a boot. I've been reading the message boards, and Monken is generally very tight-lipped on injuries. He doesn't talk about them. He made a comment that he's, looking good or good to go almost. So I don't know. No one said anything. It's a road game. So my goal is finding out, did he make the trip? That's the first goal. That said, and I'm being honest, I don't know that it matters that much. I mean, I thought their offense was super vanilla last week because they didn't need to be like unbelievable to beat Air Force. I think this Coleman can move the ball. I don't know if they'll throw the ball as much, but they may not need to. North Texas is 105th in rushing defense. They're just not good either.
I bet a lot on Texas minus 21.5 today.
That's a good one.
I was waiting. I thought maybe it gets to 21, but then I thought, you know what? I don't think that's going to happen. That was another call I made today. I asked one of the guys, are you buying this smoke that Lagway is going to play? And that's Florida's 5-star quarterback, who, by the way, looked like he blew his hamstring out in the last game. And he said, I don't believe it, but we're not writing anything on Texas yet. So, this opened 24. I got it on the screen now, 125, 126. It went from 24 on the open down to 21.5. And I sort of gambled a little bit because I said, I don't think it's going to get to 21. And if it does, it's getting whacked. It's going right back anyway. So do I wait for the 21 or do I just bet it now? And I'm very happy to look up and see Pinnacle 22.5, Circa 22.5, Superbook 23, Chris 23, Buckeye 23. That could get really, really lopsided for Florida on Saturday.
Yeah, I've looked into this Aiden Warner. He was, very lightly recruited, went to Yale. And I think he really just went to Florida to kind of maybe get some reps, see where it goes. If you're, why not? If you're a college football quarterback, I don't think he had any envisioning of playing. Look, if Lagway's in there, it's a whole different story, but he's not. Texas seems, I feel like to me, they've got to be a little pissed off. They have not played well the last couple of weeks. I guess the concern would be just like Ewers being a bit tentative. The offensive line's not great. We know Florida always has decent defensive lines, but I'm not so sure they do. With Warner, you got to wonder, can they score 7-10 points even? It could get back to where Texas was at the beginning of the season, where they're winning, 48-3, 51-7, games like that.
Yeah, big favorite, low total. That's never a good sign.
Well, let me ask you one other thing. Couldn't this be like one of those games where they just get embarrassed so badly? It's like, all right, we're done with Napier. Like, we don't even care.
No, they just extended him today.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Well, because Lagway likes him.
That's
so they
right.
want to keep. They want to keep. I agree with you. I'm not
you're
saying
right.
that you made a. I'm not saying you made a dumb comment. I feel like they should move on, but I guess they have a lot of money into these freshman and sophomore classes, and they want to keep Lagway. Like, they are adamant that keeping Lagway is priority number one, and by keeping Napier, they believe that they will keep Lagway.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I did see that come across my timeline. I should have remembered. Good call.
Good. Where do you want to take us next? I know you got a couple other games.
I want to go late night. Washington State, Utah State. who stops who in this game? I'm trying to figure this out. I'm kind of at the point, Sam, where look, I know they don't do it much anymore, but there are certain teams like Utah State that when they play, I think you've got to start it at 70. I really do. They're so poor on defense and they throw. I mean, they're a top 10 passing offense and they're giving up 43 points a game, I think. Utah State, for that matter, is not good against the pass either. That screamed 55-28 to me. Both those groups are top 15 in plays per game. They're just lightning fast. Mateer looks like kind of a poor man's Johnny Manziel. And Utah State, I think, is giving up 45 or more 5 out of 8 games this year. I mean, they're just dreadful on that side.
Okay, that's to say 55-28. That made it move a little bit when I can bet over 69.5. That definitely has my interest. What else?
I also said to you, and I know you didn't have a feel on it, but I see literally the entire world and maybe other galaxies betting on Brigham Young in a rivalry game on the road, a holy war in Salt Lake City. You get Utah off a bye, and guess what, Sam? The number's down a whole point. It's down to 3 at some spots. This number was 4.5 a couple of days ago. And the whole world's on BYU, an undefeated team. Utah's off, like I said, a bye, plenty of time to prepare. And by the way, they still have a top 11 defense. This is still a good defensive team. I think if you just run the football, this is not a great BYU defense. Oklahoma State proved that. Something tells me Brigham Young not only doesn't cover, I think they lose to Utah. And we say to ourselves, that little pesky Kyle Whittingham, still one of the best coaches in the country.
You're still going to get beat to hell in the trenches. And I will vouch, you told me Monday night, Tuesday morning, what am I missing with Utah? I needed a couple extra nights of rest. Look at this. I joined you. Now, I got 3.5.
So did I.
Oh, you did? Okay. I thought you got 4.
I played 3.5. I look, I know I might get shit for this. I'm not that worried about a half a point in college. I'm just not. I mean, as long as I got above a field goal, I felt like this was a game that Utah absolutely, if they covered, was going to win. I think they're going to win or they're going to lose by 14 or more.
Yeah, I joined you too today. I took 3.5, and then I started to see it come down. You know, I usually put my picks out on Thursday, late afternoon. And, you know, it was between Utah 3.5 and Tennessee minus a big number. And I decided, you know what? Tennessee's got a big one next week. Let me just take Whittingham. You know, I've loved them for so long. What, 10 years, 15 years when they're catching points? What am I? Yeah. I mean, it took me until Thursday, but I finally woke the hell up.
Well, I also tell you, you mentioned I've been big on Army all year. Literally every Sunday, the lines come out. The first game I bet is Indiana. I bet at 11. It's up to 14.5 this week. And I love the point you made. I think we were forgetting how good Indiana's defense has been. First of all, this is the best rushing defense in college football, right? They've just been elite. You can't throw the ball against them. And I'm not sure if anybody's noticed, but this is not the same Michigan secondary, okay? They're not very good. I mean, you can move the football. If you're a competent, decent quarterback, they can be taken in the secondary. I mean, look at any quality team they played, whether it's Oregon, even Washington scored 27, Texas 31. I laid it. Again, I got a great number. I'm not going much above 14, but I laid it. I got 11.
So I got under 49.5. I hope Michigan can slow them a bit, and I know Indiana will slow Michigan. What's your final score?
31-14.
Ooh, so I'll sweat, but I'll get there if that's the case.
But I think the worry I would have if I'm you in that game is Indiana scores that themselves.
42,
I mean,
something
probably
like that.
Won't, but I mean, they have the ability. And one thing that I've continued to try to pound in people's heads over and over, when you are betting over a touchdown favorite or overs, and you are not looking at teams' touchdown percentage in the red zone, you will lose. Sam, are you aware Indiana's been to the red zone 54 times this year? It's the most by a wide margin in the country. They're not super slow, but they're more methodical, dink and dunk. They've scored 45 touchdowns. There's not a lot of big plays with them. They're just very efficient moving down the field. There's no surprise they've covered 8 out of 9. They're scoring a bunch of points. They're just elite in the red zone. Simple.
And I do know this because I heard this the other day. So I went and checked Michigan. Michigan has been to the red zone 23 times.
I actually saw that recently. I mentioned the stat when they had like 17 or something. I mean, they are heinous. I think it was the game before they played Illinois, which you and I are both on. They are truly heinous. And now you're kind of out of options at quarterback. You just got to have to go with what you do. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this is yet another game where Michigan just can't move the ball. I do think Davis Warren's probably the best option, but do I think Colston Loveland has 112 yards this week? Do I think he's anywhere near there? No. Yeah, I don't see it with Michigan. And to be fair, Sam, I mean, I'll thank Oregon last week by punching that touchdown in late, but I got a good number here, so I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, you definitely did, and you usually do. Thank you for being patient with me. Before I let you go, let me share the Sit Down podcast, which you should definitely subscribe to. It is the Sit Down with Geoff Nadu on YouTube. 82,000 subscribers.
Thank you,
Crime History podcast. Oh, it's awesome. I see. I got my little bell checked right there. I'm good.
I saw that when you were showing your subscriptions. I saw that. Yeah. Listen, I'll say one final thing, and these guys made such a great point. You can do gambling. You can talk about. I could talk about mafia history all I want, but my most watched shows I've ever done are when I get two mobsters on the screen arguing with each other, or Sammy Gravano's telling me to do this or do that. People love drama. And I have done that in this space as well, this mob space. I don't know how I've done it, but I've done it.
Well, hold on, because I saw something the other day. You and C from Bronx Tale were going at it.
Oh,
right?
yeah. He hates me. Yeah.
What did you do, or what did he do?
He's a scumbag. So I contacted him a while ago to come on my show. I wanted to speak to him. Because not a lot of people know, but C from Bronx Tale did 10 years in prison for the assassination of a cop. He was with his pal after they got drug addicted, and they shot an off-duty cop. So C had a rough life after Sopranos and A Bronx Tale. So I reached out. I wanted to get him on my show. And he kind of just big time me and was like, oh, yeah, I go on shows way bigger than yours. I said, I don't know if you know me, but I have a pretty good show, pretty big show. And he's like telling me I need to pay him to come on. And I don't pay guests to come on. And he took umbrage with that and sent me these like voice texts telling me that I'm an asshole and I'm this and I'm that. And he hates me. So.
I didn't have the Nadu and Colagero from Bronx Tale on my bingo card, but
neither did I.
That's awesome. All right. The new Twitter is on fire at Geoff Nadu. I don't know what happened to the old one, but the new one is flying right now.
It's a bad story. I cannot believe it. I truly still can't believe it. I got Twitter, Sam, in May of 2009. It was one of my magnus opus, whatever it is. And they just stole it from me. I've tried getting contact with them to get it back. And I see this guy. It's like a robot account now. It's such a shameful waste.
Damn, bro. I'm sorry.
Well, what are you going to do? Thank you for having me, brother.
Well, I hope your Hoosiers do business as they have all season.
Oh, and we'll talk FBS too FCS over the weekend too.
Yeah, I'll text you tomorrow. It's harder when these lines don't come out. I mean, we used to have the look aheads come out on Wednesday, Thursday. There's nothing right now. There's nothing.
Yeah.
FCS.
Yeah, well, I got my eye on a few, so I'll talk to you. Thank you.
All right, buddy. That's Geoff Nadu from the Sit Down. One more quick order of business. As you know, this show is called Chicken Dinner, and my buddy Paul is now working with a company called Pepper Palace. If you're a hot sauce guy like I am, this will be very short and sweet, no pun intended. He sent me a sample. This is the Black Rose hot sauce. It's very, very good. This is the Ghostly Garlic hot sauce. Outstanding. This one I wouldn't touch unless you made me. It's called The End. The End, Flatline. Okay. And then this one is so good. It's the honey chipotle rum right here. Let me show it in the light. Honey chipotle rum. I said I was going to do this because I've been, having a couple drinks on the show. But this sauce, if it's consistent enough, yeah. Oh, that is, oh my God. For ribs, for pork, for chicken, that's it. If you use the promo code BALK, 10% off pepperpalace.com. It is, again, honey chipotle rum. That's it. The picks for this week, as you know, on Chicken Dinner, Texas minus 21.5. I'm going to go Utah plus 3.5. Michigan, Indiana under 49.5. Bears minus 6. Steelers plus 3. And the Dolphins plus the 1. Thanks to Rob Pizzola. Thanks to Geoff Fienberg. Thanks to Jeff Nadu. And thanks to you. Good luck. Cash some tickets. Make some money. We'll talk to you next Thursday right here on Chicken Dinner.